signed in, you got your slips and everything. So at the end of this, we're going to do a drawing for a grand fantastical prize. Oh yeah, those wheels fall out the bottom of the chairs.
Yeah. I like that.
And we've also got some handouts and stuff. Did you guys know?
Yeah. So this is just, if you guys want to follow along, you're welcome to. I'm not going to grade you or anything, but I like writing things down.
So this is Renee. She's one of our instructors over at UHB Sport and Fitness, and she's also a registered dietitian here at the jail. So she's going to talk to you guys today about the basics of food labeling. I'll let her kind of get started then.
Thanks. Hey, do you want to scooch over since the PowerPoint's on this side of the bar? I mean, I can try to move this if you'd like me to, but I don't know.
Our classmates, welcome to Rachel.
I mean, but we see each other all day. All right. Hey guys, my name's Renee, like you said, and basically the little initials after my name. MDS means I have a master's in dietetic studies, and then RDN is registered dietitian nutritionist, and LD is licensed dietitian. In the state of Texas, you have to have a license in order to practice as a registered dietitian, and we added the little N after our RD because everybody was calling themselves a nutritionist, so anybody that works anywhere can call themselves that, and you don't have to have any sort of education, and I think we paid a lot for our education, so I want to be able to have a legal name for myself, so that's what that's all about. What are y'all's names? Your name?
Freddie.
Freddie and? Carisha. That's very nice to meet you guys. So we're just going to talk about the basics of food labeling. I wanted to start off with just the basics of how our body works, okay? So these are our main organs: the lungs, the heart, the stomach, the intestines, the liver, and the kidneys. I gave you guys a handout, and you guys can match them if you want with a line. But which one of these, do you know which one of these absorbs nutrients from the food out of all your organs?
Intestines.
Very good. Nicely done. Removes toxins from the blood and processes nutrients from food. This is my favorite organ. This is my favorite organ. This is the liver, y'all. The liver is super cool. It regenerates itself, kind of like a chameleon's tail, if you will. But it's one of the most important ones. It's also the one that can cause a lot of damage in the body, so it's very important to keep that healthy. Provide oxygen to the blood. Very nice. And filter blood of waste and extra fluid.
Good.
Very nice, yes. So when you have to go to the bathroom, not only is your bladder mad at you, your kidneys are as well. You don't want to keep any of that stuff. So it's all this toxin stuff that's stored in there until you actually go to the restroom. And then circulates blood throughout the body. Great. And then helps digest food is your stomach. So those are kind of how they work. In order for every single one of these organs to work, we need food, we need nutrients. So this is something that's very, very important for us. Does anybody know how long we can live without food as human beings? No? Mahatma Gandhi was the first one that did it, and it was 21 days. I think he got up to 20 days and then he was out for the count. So 21 days is what we calculated it at. So make sure that if you're gonna go without food or nutrients, don't do it for longer than 21 days. Water is a different story because a lot of food contains water in it. So, okay, so what is a calorie? I really like this little meme because everybody seems to think that calories are really, really mean. Tiny creatures that live in your closet and sew your clothes a little bit tighter every night. That's pretty much what people have the perception of a calorie being. According to Webster's dictionary, the amount of heat required to raise a temperature of 1 kilogram of water 1 degree Celsius. What? It's basically a unit of heat energy, okay? Further explanation, it's fuel for our bodies. Our bodies have to function with fuel, just like a car would need to function with gasoline, or maybe not nowadays anymore, but it's fuel. We need fuel for our bodies. And where are calories found? In food and drinks, nutrients, okay? What is a nutrient? There's two types. There's a macronutrient, which they call it macro because it's the biggest part, yeah? So there's protein, there's a carbohydrate, and there's fat. And then you have micronutrients, which are vitamins, vitamins A, C, B, D, K. There's a whole list of vitamins that we can go through. And then there's minerals, there's iron, there's calcium, there's magnesium, there's phosphorus. If you guys ever saw your periodic table of elements, then you can see a lot of them there. And they actually have a really, really big purpose. So we're gonna go over that. So we're gonna go over each nutrient real quick, just so we know. Protein. Basically, proteins are amino acids. And these amino acids are building blocks that we need to grow and repair. So whether it's muscle, whether it's tissue, any parts of us, they need to be regenerated. And protein is a really, really big help because it has amino acids. That's just a little joke. What do you call an acid with an amino acid? So 4 kilocalories per gram, what does that mean? Basically, when you see a label, you'll see protein in grams, you'll see carbohydrates in grams, calories will just come in a number. But when you see grams of something, it's basically protein has 4 calories per gram. So that means that there's 4 calories in each gram of protein. If you see something with 20 grams of protein, you multiply that by 4 and you get 80 calories. Yeah? Does that make sense? Yes? Kind of? We're gonna go over it in just a second again, okay? Just wanted you guys to know that. Where is it found? Animals. You have beef, pork, chicken, game and wild meats, and seafood. You have animal byproducts, and that's eggs and milk. Honey, I guess technically would also be one. And then you have non-animal products that also contain protein in them. So you have legumes, which are beans, peanuts, things that come from the ground. You have fruits and vegetables and grains. And yes, fruits and vegetables do have protein in them. People think that they don't, but they actually do. And grains also have proteins. Some grains have more proteins than others, but your main sources of proteins are going to come from animal products, and then you're going to have your eggs, and then you're going to have your non-animal products. So this, like peanut butter would fall under this category up here, yeah? Then I guess there's almond milk and soy milk and cashew milk and all that stuff, yeah? That's also a non-animal product. So carbohydrates. This is the main fuel of the body. So carbohydrates are the most, to me, arguably the most essential nutrient that you might want to eat, yeah? A lot of people think that carbohydrates are not okay, but carbohydrates are actually super, super, super essential. There's 2 different types of carbohydrates, and I'm not going to go too much into them. Just know that there's complex carbohydrates and there's simple carbohydrates, and I couldn't find an easier / more comic relief way than explaining it this way. You have an apple here that's actually reading a book, and then you have a cupcake and some French fries. And so he's reading a book, ergo becoming more intelligent, and they're watching The Bachelor, yeah? So this is the, maybe what you would like to be doing to expand the mind, right? And this is not something that you might want to do. But there are 2 types of carbohydrates. So they're also 4 kilocalories per gram, also you get 4 calories per gram that you have. Where is it found? Bread, pasta, rice, sugars, also legumes, fruits and vegetables. Yes, vegetables have carbs as well. And so what makes carbohydrates so important is that even when the body is not moving, it still continues to function. Your body is constantly moving. Your body needs calories to burn. If you were like 100%, I stand still, I don't move except for I'm breathing on a bed, your body needs a base of calories in order to continue to function, okay? Calories is what it uses. So this carbohydrates also maintain your body temperature. And it keeps your heart beating, super important, right? And it helps you digest food. So digestion comes from fiber carbohydrates, right? Like grains and things. True or false? People who are overweight should avoid carbohydrates at all costs. False, very false. People think that the carbohydrates are what cause people to gain weight, but what causes people to gain weight is a mantra of things. Carbohydrates, the way they work, they go into the body, they're supposed to be used as energy right away. So as soon as you get your carbohydrates in, you're supposed to burn them up. So our bodies are very, very selfish. And when they don't use the carbohydrates, they keep it and then they convert it into fat. So then it gets stored away, and that's how people start gaining weight. So carbohydrates are not the culprit. We are for not using the carbohydrates that we are ingesting, yes? So carbohydrates are not terrible, just know that. Fats, there's also a good fat and there's a bad fat, okay? This is just an avocado, better fat than butter. Fats help absorb micronutrients. So there's vitamins that are called fat-soluble vitamins, and those are A, D, E and K. And we need fat to help us absorb those vitamins. Fats also provide cushions and membranes to avoid damage. What do I mean by that? So, for example, our brain has a slight membrane around it that's not only cushioned by fat, but it's also cushioned by carb. Yeah, so we have it, and it's here, and it keeps us from, when we hit our head, if we don't hit it that hard, then, it keeps it as, it's kind of like a bouncy house, if you will. And just to avoid damage, because if you were to have brain to skull, then that's pretty much brain damage for you. Fats have 9 calories per gram, so every gram of fat you get 9 calories. Where is it found? You have dietary fat in oils, coconuts, nuts, milk, cheese, meat, poultry, and fish. So all of these can be anywhere from canola oil to vegetable oil to olive oil to any oil you can think of. I specified coconuts because they started making coconuts into everything: coconut milk, coconut oil, coconut everything. So it's also a source of fat mainly, yeah. Nuts, it's going to be anything that grows in the tree or on the floor. And milk, unless it's 100% fat-free milk, then you're also going to find fat in milk, and that goes for almond, cashew, soy, all those milks that you guys find at the grocery store. So now that we have that, we're going to go over micronutrients real quick. I have also another matching game here. Oh no, this is after this, I'm sorry. Your micronutrients are your vitamins. And vitamins are essential, and they aid in energy production. What does that mean? So you're eating carbs, and then you have to, turn that into something that your body can use, and vitamins are essential in doing that for you. So you have vitamins that hook onto fat to do that. You have vitamins that hook onto carbs to do that too. So it's for pretty much everything: wound healing, bone formation, immunity, and eye and skin health. Minerals, they help maintain cardiovascular health and provide structure to the skeleton. So this is kind of also important. As a mineral, they're not really seen as going into the bloodstream because I think of a mineral and I think of, again, the periodic table of elements, and I think of, I'm not going to eat iron. There's an element called chromium, and literally the best source of chromium are chrome rims for a car. So if anybody was ever deficient, they can go and lick one. Don't do that, please don't do that. But it is the best one. So I don't see the best that, but minerals are essential. So you have things like calcium, you have iron, you have magnesium. All of that is essential for the body to, especially for cardiovascular health. A lot of minerals can be found to be in to have a deficiency in them, and your heart will pump slower, or if you have an excess of it, then you can actually get some sort of a heart attack or a stroke because it's working in overtime. Okay. Let me know if I'm going too fast. Okay, so here are your vitamins and minerals. These are just 4. Just wanted to see if you guys knew. Helps wounds heal and the body's ability to fight off germs. When you get sick, what is the first thing that they tell you to? Yeah. Also, there's studies that show that vitamin C should come from natural products, like an actual orange or an actual clementine, or not the emergency that you get. Not to say that the emergency won't work if you're in a bind, but if you do have the option, I would go for an actual food product than a supplement. Promotes bone health and development, or bone growth, sorry.
Calcium.
Yeah, like you were again. Hasn't changed since you were in middle school. That's still a thing. Helps eyes to see.
Vitamin A.
Yes. Do you know what the name of the vitamin is? Besides vitamin A, it's called beta carotene. Yes. And then helps blood transport oxygen throughout the body and prevent anemia. Obviously, that's iron. Yeah, so iron is super important, not only for iron, but for your red blood cells, your white blood cells, everything that kind of keeps you functioning. Okay, does anybody know what the main source of vitamin D is in the world?
That's all.
Yes, very, very nice. It's free in most places, and I only said that because I work in the jail, so don't take it for granted. I actually had to get a fortified punch packet with vitamin D in it because they don't see sun at all. So I was like, if we can just make a hole and have them stick their hand out for like 20 minutes, they'll get it. Okay, so after reading all of that, consuming a balanced diet including fruits, vegetables, dairy, protein foods, and whole enriched grains help ensure the body has plenty of nutrients to use. So you saw that carbs are both, beans can be both of a carb and a nutrient and a protein. You saw that, a lot of things can play double. So these are a couple of things that I thought were funny. This is my favorite. You're doing it wrong. This is not a thing. And then she's got a whole bunch of sweets on both ends of these. So these are examples of non-balanced diets, but I thought they were pretty funny. So this is really what a balanced diet should look like. And if you take a look at it, with the exception of this area right here, nothing is white or brown, and maybe even yellow. We want colors in our foods. Yeah, the more colors you have, the safer you are of actually eating every single nutrient that you need. So the more colorful your plate, the better. So if you have on your plate corn and potatoes and beef, that's brown, white, yellow. That's not something that you want. You'd like for it to be maybe green beans, right? Whole grain rice and maybe, I don't know, a piece of salmon or something like that. You have pink, you have brown, so the more colors you have on there, the better. You get so much more out of your foods than just getting the one solid color on there. So this is kind of what you want your plate to look like. Okay, so how do I know how much to eat, right? You're pretty much safe when reading labels if you are, so I'm using the dietary guidelines for Americans. These are made every 10 years, 10 years, 15 years, every so often. Okay, so this is basically a chart, and you can find this. I have that website on there for you guys if you want it. But this basically tells you, oops, sorry. I need to go to page 91. Okay. All right, so this basically tells you for your age and how active you are, how many calories you should eat a day. This is the studies that they came up with if you were, a normal, very, generic. This is what I use for the jail, for example. There's 10,000 inmates in there. So when I need to make a menu, I blanket it. And I say, what is the average height of a male? What is the average weight? How many calories do they need to sustain their lives? It's very, very general. Okay, this is not 100% individualized. So, for example, I am at 34 years old, and I am an active female, so I'm just going to take it on over this way. And I can eat 2,200 calories a day. It's kind of how this works. So you can look it up. I'm not going to ask you guys your ages. But that's kind of how you get your basic, how many calories should I eat a day? And this is available to the public, and I really encourage everybody to go in and read the dietary guidelines for Americans. They have so much information, so many questions answered of things that we may not want to ask or that we Google a lot of the times. You can actually find all the information here. So nutrition label, okay, one more thing I wanted to point out is that males pretty much have it set. Yeah, if you're an active male, when you're 2 years old, you need 1,000. See, you can pretty much eat your weight until you get to about 55 years old. Yes? For we ladies, 1,000, you go up to about 24 and then you come right back down to 22. Or if you're sedentary, you go up to 2,000, but then you come back down to 1,600. It's just the way males and females are made. It's how our bodies work and how they function. Okay, so if at any point you just want to see how many calories you should be getting, this is it. If you guys want to know how much protein you're supposed to be getting, how many carbs you're supposed to be getting, all of that is in here as well. Okay, it'll tell you exactly how to split it up and how to look it up, and that way when we do read the food labels, you'll know what you're getting. So that's that. Put that here. And can I get out of here? Okay, so the reason we're here. Jeez, Mary and Joseph. I have to go from current slide, right? No. How do I play this from the
It's the one you
correct?
did on the bottom. Very bottom, right beside the volume. One right there.
Aha. Okay. So this is what a food label looks like. Did you guys get some snacks on your way in? Did you eat the snacks already? Sweet. I would too. So I'm going to hand you guys something with a food label on it so you can kind of see what it looks like, yeah? If you guys have one. So this is what you see when you go to the grocery store and you're trying to pick out what you want to eat. This is a food label. It's very, very basic food label, okay? So first and foremost, we want to look at the serving size. Right up here. This right here is a serving size. So, oops, all of these numbers down here, from here to here, are all based off of that serving size, okay? This is very important, and you'll see why. You'll see serving size over here as well. And it's this amount, so 2/3 of a cup has 230 calories, 8 grams of fat, 1 gram saturated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, okay? It's based off of one size. Servings per container, here's where it gets really, really tricky. Servings per container are here. So there's 8 servings per container, 8 servings per container. So let's say you're having a bad day and you want to eat that entire pint of ice cream, yes? You're going to look at your nutrition label and you're going to see, oh, it only has 230 calories in it. But if you read the servings per container, there's 8 servings in it. So if you guys want, how much do you get if you eat or drink all of it? You can take out your calculators because I'm not that good at math. But basically, based off of one, right? If you want to, calories are 230. If you eat the whole thing, it's 1,840 calories. So we just saw that even at like the most active, for me, it was only 2,200 calories. If I eat this whole box in one sitting, not even my 3 meals, I'm already eating more than 80% of what I'm supposed to eat in a day. So this is what really gets people, when they're going into the grocery store seeing things. So they'll see a honey bun or something and they're like, oh, it's only 180 calories. And then there's 4 whopping servings in it. This happens a lot in the jail with ramen noodles. Do you guys have ramen noodles? Yeah, they only do like a half of a cup. So there's 2 servings in there. And they never multiply it by 2, so they never think they're eating as much. But just the way it goes for calories, it goes for everything else, okay, here. So if there's 8 grams of fat per 1 serving, you multiply 8 times 8, right? And then you get the amount. Then sodium, carbohydrate, grams of fiber, sugars, protein, everything. All of this, you have to, if you eat the whole box, you have to multiply it by 8. Or if you have, 2 servings of it, or if you have 3 servings of it, or if you have half the box, well, you could just multiply it by 4. So that way you know kind of what you're getting in a day's worth. Does that make sense? Does anybody want me to explain that again? No? Okay, good. So this is just a different way. So this is one way of doing it. This is the new modern way of doing it. I think they did this to make people more aware of what they're doing, but I still think that this needs to be bolded as well, in my opinion. That's what people overlook the most.
So Renee, that's the new?
Yes, this is what it's supposed. This is the old one, and this is to make people more aware. This is what they had now, and they're still going to tweak it a little bit more. And it's also for the elderly population, so that they can actually see a little bit more. But if they did it for the elderly population, then all of these numbers need to come up too. So baby steps. So the next thing I want to talk about are percent daily values. And we see all of these right here, and we're like, oh, 12%, I don't no idea what they mean, right? Does anybody know what they mean or how they are read? No? Okay. So percent daily values. This is based off of a 2,000 calorie diet. So if you go back to the Dietary Guidelines for Americans and you're supposed to eat 2,000 calories a day, this is made for you, yes? If not, if you're an elderly woman and you need 1,600, she has to do more math. So she has to do her own percent daily values, okay? This is just based off of a 2,000 calorie diet. If you were on a 1,500 or a 1,600, then you would do more math, as in fractions. I hate the fact that I never paid attention in school. And then you would figure out what your percentage daily value is, you know, if you would need it. So it's not for everyone. You need to read all your food labels throughout the day. Also remember that the other confusing thing about labels is that this is percent daily value, and they're giving you the nutrition size or serving size for one item, yeah? So if your percent daily value right here is 16, then that's only for, that's for the whole day. So in the whole day, you already ate, if you eat 2/3 of a cup, you already ate 16% of the fiber that you need. Does that make sense? Okay, good. It's kind of, so then what's considered low is 5% of a daily value of a nutrient. And what's considered high is 20 or more percent of a nutrient. So in this label, iron is considered high, yes? It's more than 5%, and then saturated fat here is considered low, yes? Does that make sense?
So it's high for this product.
For this product, exactly.
Not high for your day.
Right, not high for your day, exactly. So just in this food label or in it. So, but iron is one of the, so you might want to look at, like if saturated fat was a 45, then you might want to, you know, be careful with how you eat that. Iron would be okay to eat a little bit more of throughout the day, but it is considered high. There's your calcium, your vitamin C, but yeah. So then box claims. We always see these box claims at the grocery store. You have crackers that are reduced fat, reduced sodium beans, low sodium things. So these are all regulated by the federal government, okay? The FDA is the one that says, in order for you to be able to slap this on your box, you need to follow certain rules. Okay, so if you want to claim that your product is low calorie, you need to have 40 calories or less per serving. So don't go to the grocery store and see, you know, a box of cookies that has 40 calories per cookie and there's 10, and you're like, oh no, that's 400 calories. They can still say it's a low calorie because per serving, it's still 40 calories, yeah? So even though it is a low calorie food, it's very important to look at that label and see how many servings there are inside. So like, anything from snack wells to things that try to make a low calorie food, just like the Cheez-Its, the Cheez-It crackers, I think there's 13 servings in here. So yeah, it's reduced fat, but when you eat the whole box, it's no longer, it's moot. Although, like if you had to choose between the both, right? So low cholesterol is 20 milligrams or less, and 2 grams or less of saturated fat per serving. So this is kind of cool because they box 2 into 1. So cholesterol, saturated fat and cholesterol, they are best friends. They love each other and they love to make your body suffer a lot. So they cling on to each other, and so they made the claim that low cholesterol was just going to be 2 grams of or less of saturated fat and 20 milligrams or less of cholesterol. So if anything is reduced, it has to have 25% less of the specific nutrient or calories as the usual product. So what that means is reduced fat here, and it says it in the claim, 40% less than the regular Cheez-Its. They could have just made it 25% less, and they could have slapped that label on there too. Okay, so, but it's than the usual product. So if something has, say, 100 grams of fat, which is ridiculous, right? And they're like, oh, we're reduced fat because we have 25% less. Make sure you look at the label of anything that you think, okay, well, this says it is reduced fat, but just like anything else, this box of Cheez-Its could have a ridiculous amounts of fat already, and the 45% could still be a high amount. So you look at those percentage daily values, and you say, hey, if I eat a serving of this, how much percentage of my daily value in saturated fat am I already eating? And that's kind of how you would read the label. So these are very much for marketing, and they make them in colors like green because green is associated with a healthy color. Yeah? Do you guys have any questions about that and how, about this label? So when something says it's a good source, It provides at least 10 to 19% of the daily value of a particular vitamin or nutrient per serving. That is also based off of a 2,000 calorie diet. Everybody just took the middle and they said, we're going to use 2,000 calories for everything. So if it has 10 to 19%, then they can slap that on the box too and hope that somebody needs, more iron, more calcium, more of whatever they're promoting in the front of the box and put it there. Calorie-free means less than 5 calories per serving. You're going to see calorie-free in things like Crystal Light, like the powder packets or the Hawaiian Punch sugar-free powder packets, things of that nature. You're going to see calorie-free in that. It has to have less than 5 calories per serving. And you'll actually see in the label, when you see it, you'll see a less than sign and then 5 for that. So fat-free or sugar-free, less than half the gram of fat or sugar per serving. This one's kind of tricky because it doesn't specify whether or not it's from the original product, but it has to be, for example, milk. 2% milk is considered half of the fat. Okay, so it was originally 4% milk. So now they put 2% on it because it is half of it. Does that make sense? Yeah? So low sodium would be 140 milligrams or less of sodium per serving. The recommended dietary allowance actually for blanket would be 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day, unless you have some sort of ailment or chronic disease. But it's very much 2,300 calories, or 2,300 milligrams, I'm sorry. So this is sodium is a culprit of a lot of things as well. They did change this because it used to be a percentage as well. Back in the day, they used to say it has to have half of the percentage of the original product, or a quarter, or 3/4, or a percentage. But again, ramen noodles, back to my example, they have 860 milligrams per serving, which is half. So if you multiply that by 2, you're getting a whopping like 1,700 and something, maybe 1,800 and something, right? No, you're getting 1,900 milligrams of sodium, which you have 500 left or 400 left to play with for the rest of your day. And it's only one soup and it's tiny, right? So it's all jam-packed in there. So they tried to make ramen noodles reduce sodium, but they couldn't because they changed it, and now it has to have this many milligrams or less of sodium per serving, and that is blanket. So high in provides 20% or more in the daily value of a specific nutrient per serving, which we saw in the nutrition label before. Any questions about the box claims or how they come? No? Okay. So what are you supposed to choose when you go to the market, right? We recommend that you choose foods low in saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium. We were just having a conversation about that. Added sugars are usually not, right now, they're not claimed on any box or any nutrition label, but they do have sugars on there. They do have to have sugars on there. These can also come from sugar alcohols, things of that nature. But you want to, in general, just stay away from the added sugars. We get enough carbs from everything else we eat. Pretty much anything and everything you eat, fruit, vegetable, grain, has some sort of carb in it. So you get your carbs, you get enough of your carbs throughout your day if you do have like a well-balanced meal. That's what if you have any added sugars, sugar is considered a carb. You don't need to add that onto whatever you're already eating. Eating less saturated fat, added sugars, and sodium may help reduce the risk for chronic disease. It's anything from heart disease, diabetes, things of that nature. Saturated fat and trans fat are linked to an increased risk of heart disease. So saturated fat and trans fat are culprits with cholesterol. Your veins are supposed to be a certain, they're supposed to be nice and clear, that things are supposed to be able to flow through them. Eating large amounts of saturated fat and trans fat, they start building up around it. So your vein goes from being this big to being this big and not allowing things to go through, and that's how people get high blood pressure, because it's literally trying to push through something that doesn't have any room for it. So saturated fat and trans fat are linked to those diseases where you can get some sort of heart disease. So eating too much added sugar makes it difficult to meet nutrient needs within your calorie requirement. This is what I like to call empty calories. Added sugars are empty calories. All you get from sugar is carbohydrate. That's it. You get nothing else. You get no vitamins. You might get some minerals and like trace amounts, but eating sugar, just like high sugary foods, they're not going to do you as good as eating something that's more nutrient dense. So if you have one cupcake that has 300 calories in it, as opposed to a serving of whole grain, like maybe a whole grain brownie with fat-free Cool Whip and like some strawberries on top, that's going to be more nutrient dense than it would be to just have a regular Joe Schmo, sugared up cupcake. So just kind of think of it in that nature. Try to make your meals more nutrient dense and less empty calorie. Because empty calories, you just have to burn them off. Like you literally eat them and you have to go and find what to do with them, as opposed to when you have a nutrient dense food, it takes all of that and you burn more calories trying to use all of those vitamins and minerals that you're getting, and your intestines start to work and everything starts to function. It's what we need in order for us to be regular. High levels of sodium can add up to high blood pressure. So just like trans fat, saturated fat, sodium, cholesterol, all of those things, they're all best friends. They all like to hang out. And they all give you some sort of flow issue within your cardiovascular system. So get enough vitamins, minerals, and fiber. Eat more fiber, potassium, vitamin D, calcium, and iron to maintain good health and help reduce your risk of certain health problems such as osteoporosis and anemia. The cool thing about vitamins and minerals is they are all friends. So they like to work together and help each other out in helping your body. So iron and vitamin C are actually super good friends. So say somebody has low iron levels, more often than not, you're going to get an iron supplement plus some sort of vitamin C supplement so that can help absorb it, because they like to help each other. I don't know if anybody has ever donated platelets or blood. When you do and your iron levels are low, they say go eat a steak and have a side of spinach. Spinach is also a very, very good source of vitamin C, and also of iron as well. But I always tell them, and just shoot a glass of orange juice, because you're going to get that vitamin C that you need, and your levels will get up really well. So calcium and vitamin D are best friends. They're all for bone formation. Again, osteoporosis can happen when you're older. You obviously don't want to get it when you're young. But it will reduce the risk of you developing it later on in life if you do have enough of it. Choose more fruits and vegetables to get more of these nutrients. We've always been taught to eat our fruits and vegetables, and I think it's almost been a punishment when we were kids. Like, you have to eat this, you can't get up until you eat this. I'm sure that our parents, grandparents, maybe even great-grandparents had the best intentions in telling us that. I don't think they ever taught us the right way. So you get more bang for your buck. When you eat fruits and vegetables, you get everything. You get nutrient dense. Yeah, you get everything that you need, and I'm sure that they weren't just trying to taunt us. Maybe it was the fact that they were slaving away forever and we didn't eat their fruits and vegetables, right, or the vegetables. But just the more colorful your plate, the better. There's vegetables that are purple, there's orange, just think of a rainbow, and whites included, mushrooms are white, and and think of trying to put all of that on your plate. So next time you go and you make yourself a meal, look at your plate and say, what colors are on my plate, and am I getting enough colors on here to know that I'm getting enough bang for my buck? And say you didn't do it, well, make your dessert a different color, make it blue, like get some blueberries, or make it red, or something that pops, or add something to it, or switch something out and have it for the next day. What do I do if something doesn't have a label? You can also go, fruits and vegetables don't have labels on them, but you still want to know how many calories they have. For example, like a sweet potato might have more calories than, say, some broccoli, or, we have starchy vegetables like peas, carrots, corn. So the USDA also has a very, very cool website where you can go online and you can look up almost any food that you want. And see if they have a nutrition label for it. So if you're counting calories as to whatever, then you can go onto their website and see what the nutrient contents of that, and they will give you a extensive nutrient analysis on any food. And if it's not on there and you think that it should be, then you can actually email them and say, hey, I ran into this product, I think it should be in there. Sometimes they won't include certain foods, like protein supplements and things like that, because they're not FDA approved yet, or they may not be FDA approved, but most of the foods that you get that don't have labels on them, you will be able to find on here. It's really, really cool to go see it. Another thing that's that can help you with how many calories and how many nutrients are in them. I don't know if you guys have an app called MyFitnessPal, if you've heard of an app called MyFitnessPal. Okay, so MyFitnessPal pulls their data from them as well. You just have to be kind of careful to pick and choose which apple you're picking, but it usually says the USDA. So just when you are Googling how many calories does something have, I would just insert the USDA in there somewhere so that you know you're actually getting the most accurate information. So in order to get nutrient analysis of any foods, you actually have to put it into this oven and it explodes, and then it's really, really cool. But they do all of that with all of these fruits and vegetables because obviously they don't grow with a nutrition label on them, right? It's weird, but now that's why a lot of grocery stores have them now. If you see, they'll have melon per serving, and you can see how many calories they have so people can take pictures of it and stuff. If there is something that you don't know or something that you might want on the nutrition label, for example, say you want to know how much vitamin D is in something that's not required to be on a nutrition label right now, but you want to know, manufacturers get super excited when people ask for this information because they're saying somebody's looking into my product enough to use it enough to get their percentage daily value out of my product. So they're more than happy to help you into seeing which nutrient that you want, or if they have a different breakdown. Pastas are super hard to actually equate because it's this much dry pasta is this many calories, but when it's cooked, it's a different calorie. All of the manufacturers are really geeky about explaining it all to you, and it's really cute, and they have all kinds of animations. So I would really look into their websites just to see, all of their stuff. So the last thing I want to talk about are ingredients. If you guys see on any of your nutrition labels there, everything will have ingredients on it. Anything that has more than one ingredient must have an ingredient list on the label, okay? This is more for the fact that we do not want to put labels on an apple because it's an apple, yes. Some manufacturers have peanut butter that's solely made from peanuts and nothing else. But because it is manufactured somewhere, they need to have a label. So you will see some foods that have one ingredient, maybe two, but if you have more than one, you automatically need a label. They're listed in descending order by weight. These weights are not specified, so you don't know how much each one of them weighs. Those in the largest amounts are listed first, meaning, so if you have a cup of, or a drink of some sort, it'll say first and foremost water, and then it'll say sugar, however it came and whatever is the most ingredient into that label. More than anything, the ingredients were made for people who have food sensitivities, intolerances, or allergies, to avoid pork or shellfish, limited added sugars, or people who prefer vegetarian eating. So there's vegetarians that actually do not eat any byproducts of animals. So anything from you go to a sushi place and they give you fish sauce, it's actually a byproduct of, a fish, so they won't eat that or things like that. So if you're curious to know whether or not they have it, look into the ingredients, and if you are curious as to know how much, then you can also email the manufacturer. And again, they are super, super cool at getting back to you with anything with any questions that you might have about it. Is there any questions for me about anything? Yes, ask away.
I love how you emphasize added sugar. So many.
That's about sugar-free, things. It's I know I've heard of fake man-made sugar.
Man-made sugar, okay.
Yeah. I was wondering if is that what sugar-free is? Or...
Okay, so sugar-free can't have any sugar whatsoever, whether it's man-made, manufactured.
Pretty sweet. That's
Right. So they make things called there are sugar alcohols, right? But there's different, chemists came up with really, really good ways of making products that are no calorie, very, very sweet. So there's something called aspartame. Aspartame has no calories, yet it still gives you that flavor, and it's all about the tongue feel. So depending on what type of sugar or sugar substitute that they used, that's what's making your drink sweet. So it's good, if you don't want to add any more sugars, right, to your diet, you do get something that's sugar-free. God hope, yes, it does not have any sugar in it, okay? But don't think that just because it tastes sweet, they're wrong. There's a lot of sugars that are, like you said, you know, man-made or chemically made or altered, so that people whom, you know, are, let's say, diabetic and can't have that many carbs in a day or that much sugar in a day, that they get to enjoy it too. So they get to make, you know, their cupcakes or their cakes with something that still gives them that mouthfeel of it being sweet, but they're not getting the repercussions of eating that added sugar to their stuff.
Honey's a good example.
Honey's a really good example, yeah.
You'll see manufacturers put honey in their products to sweeten it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not considered sugar.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same sugar.
It still has calories, right? But it's not an added sugar. So an added sugar would be, for example, I don't know if it's Powerade. I think Coca-Cola still adds, right? Regular sugar, yeah. So Coca-Cola, you'll see how many grams of sugar it is. But the original product already has sugar in it. Then you have like this man, this is what I picture, this man at the end of like the toll, right? Just dumping granulated sugar into, to make it even sweeter.
I was reading the label on the zero free spray. It did say zero on here, but it tastes sweet.
Yeah, so it'll be made out of something, is it aspartame? I don't even know what Coke Zero has. It's either going to be, it's some sort of like sugar alcohol that has no, a sweet and low, So when you go to like a restaurant and you get a nice, yes, exactly, stevia is a good one, Truvia is another one. Yeah, so all of that stuff has no calories in it, but it gives you that mouthfeel of it tasting sweet. Yeah, but when you go to like a restaurant and you get iced tea and you put like 7 packets of granulated sugar and it never dissolves, right? Like the sugar substitutes, more equal and Sweet and Low and Splenda, those will dissolve easier. Splenda not so much. Those will dissolve easier and they actually make your drink 10 times as sweet, right? Or 12 times as sweet. People are scared that, you know, these are bad for you because they're, you know, they're not natural, things of that nature. There are no studies that show that it actually causes harm to, you know, to anybody. They do studies on lab rats and they inject lab rats with like 260 something times the amount we would ever eat in a lifetime. So I don't care what you are. If you pump somebody with 260 times the amount that I'll ever eat in a lifetime with anything, I don't care if it's green beans, yes, you will develop some sort of disease. So it's just things that manufacturers want to get out and people want to come back to, you know, the way things used to be. And I mean, all power to anybody who wants to do everything all natural and organic. Just, you know how to manage it. This is for we people that, you know, we find it easy to go to the grocery store, and instead of actually looking things up or, you know, seeing things, and we just look at a nutrition label and we're like, oh, okay, well, I'm getting it. Yeah, as opposed to like, oh, I'm gonna go see how much vitamin C my orange has right now, USDA, or, you know, encyclopedia or whatever it is, you know. So that's what these are for. Any other?
Shock them with learning how many teaspoons are in a gram.
Oh my gosh.
4 to 5 teaspoons of sugar. So if you have 24 grams of sugar, divide that by 4 or 5, and that's how many teaspoons. So a soda, a Coke, has 24 grams of sugar. Divided by 4, that's 6 teaspoons of sugar at the bottom of your Coke bottle.
Did your grandparents or parents ever make you eat spoons full of sugar like Mary Poppins? Okay, it's exactly what you're doing every time. Or putting sugar on the toast on top of the butter. That was something that my mom used to make me do, and I didn't understand why.
How many teaspoons of sugar are in your Powerade right there?
It is 34.
34?
Divided by
Divided by 4 or 5? Let's go ahead and divide it by 5.
6 or 7.
That's how many teaspoons of sugar are in that.
Just grabbing the huge pot and going, whoop.
I thought like Powerade was supposed to be like healthy.
So Powerade is actually, so Powerade is made for the athlete. Yes, I say athlete. Powerade is made for the person who is more active than the normal active individual. So you have kids, I want to say kids, you have high school students from the ages of like 12 to like 28, so high school, college. Those are the guys that are doing football, they're doing basketball, they're going through a growth spurt. So they're like their recommended allowances are like 3,000 calories, right? Plus whatever you're working out. So they need to replenish a lot. These Gatorade, Powerade were developed for a quick replenish. And so what the manufacturer did to market it to us was, oh, it has electrolytes. Yes, we need electrolytes too, but we don't need the sugar that comes in it. They might, anybody who's working out constantly might just, replenish, and it's quick. You drink it and you're replenished. But this is more made for that person that is actually active all the time. Now they have Powerade Zero, and it's also made with those sugars that make, that you hit your mouth and you're like, oh, it tastes just like Powerade, or oh, it tastes sweet. Why? And it's just for the same feel. They give you the electrolytes because electrolytes are, they can be added. But they just don't give you the sugar because you might not be as active as, somebody that's a linebacker for Kansas State University or something. Yeah, or the Cougars here, yeah. So, any other questions about anything that looks healthy, but, it's reading the label and going in there and getting your own daily values and seeing what you're supposed to get. And again, just remember that those are based off of like a general. What makes us so wonderful, every single one of us in this room and every single one of us in this world, is that we are individuals. Nothing about each other is the same. We have a different print. We have a different way of acting. I like something different. You like something different. We are individuals, and that makes us amazing. For the same reason, it makes us so difficult in life, but especially in like nutrition or medicine. So you can't give one person the same thing you give the other. You have to, learn about your body. These are things that are generalized, yeah? And it's a good guideline for you to base yourself off of, but just know that you are you, and the person that was in here is not like you, thank God. Thank goodness for diversity, huh? But just know that, yeah? Any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Carlos.
I'm guessing this is not the geek thing?
No?
Yeah, okay. I'm not minded. Sorry.
Thank you, Renee.
Yeah, no problem.